Honda seems to be increasingly involved in shaping Aston Martin's driver lineup, according to recent behind-the-scenes information from Formula One. Reports indicate that the Japanese manufacturer will have a real influence on who will drive for the team in the coming years, something that was previously believed to be exclusively decided by Lawrence Stroll and his business partner. This shift reflects Honda's new understanding of the weight they carry as the new regulations approach, revealing a much more active role in Silverstone's decision-making process. This new scenario brings up interesting discussions, especially considering Lance Stroll's current situation. Despite numerous criticisms received in recent years, Lawrence Stroll seems unable to recognize that his son does not display the necessary talent to become the champion he so strongly envisioned. Now, with the structure practically assembled and Adrian Newey working on preparations for the 2026 regulations, Honda's entrance into the driver selection debate becomes even more relevant. According to Koji Watanabe, head of Honda's motorsport division, the way they will operate with Aston Martin will be similar to their previous relationship with Red Bull. Commenting on the matter, Watanabe highlighted the pride in collaborating with Adrian Newey, emphasizing that the main goal is to build a competitive car capable of fighting for victories and titles. Although the number of teams using Honda engines will be reduced from 2026 onward, the Japanese manufacturer intends to keep a strong voice in the decisions that will shape the team's future regarding driver. Obviously, Aston Martin will have the final say, but as was the case with Red Bull, Honda's influence will be significant and taken into account. In this new context, all the attention inevitably turns to Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda, two names strongly associated with the current Formula One generation. Currently teammates at Red Bull, there is a feeling behind the scenes that Max may reconsider his future if the Austrian team's performance declines with the introduction of the new regulations. This scenario would not be surprising, considering that both Honda and Newey were fundamental pillars in Verstappen's recent successes. Without these two forces at Red Bull, Max's loyalty might be tested. Moreover, there is the intriguing question of who Max would replace if he chose to move to Silverstone. Although it is expected that Fernando Alonso will leave the team at the end of the 2026 season, rumors indicate that Lance Stroll's situation is also a point of internal concern. Reports suggest that Adrian Newey is not fully satisfied with the Canadian's performance. And now, with Honda also weighing in on the driver lineup, drastic changes cannot be ruled out. Koji Watanabe publicly addressed the possibility of a new partnership with Max Verstappen, catching the attention of fans and experts alike. Watanabe stated that he sincerely hopes to work with Max again, highlighting the driver's clear communication with Honda's engineers and the mutual admiration that exists between them. Watanabe emphasized that beyond Max's talent on the track, he deeply respects him as a person. For his part, Verstappen also acknowledges the importance of the partnership with Honda, recalling that his greatest career achievements have come alongside the Japanese manufacturer. Despite his emotional connection with Red Bull, Max is aware that the dynamics in Formula One can change rapidly, and that a new opportunity aligned with his goals could arise. In his own words, Verstappen remembers that before Honda, Red Bull was already a competitive team, but he could never have imagined the level of success they achieved together, winning 4 consecutive championships. For him, it is about respecting what has been built and keeping an open mind for the future. Thus, even though the current separation is only temporary, Max makes it clear that tomorrow in Formula One is always unpredictable. The future of the Stroll family is also a subject of intense discussion. Lance remains the weak link within the team, while Lawrence tries to ensure that the millions invested in new factories and talent acquisitions yield concrete results. The truth is that even with recent efforts, there remains doubt whether Lance has the necessary skill to lead a team to a world title. Nevertheless, his performance in the first 3 rounds of the 2025 season brought some hope, as Lance scored 100% of the team's points, including in a sprint race. This initial success suggests that with a better adjusted car, Lance could show a more competitive version of himself. However, reaching the level required to compete for a world championship seems, at the very least, a colossal challenge. For that to happen, Aston Martin would need to deliver an overwhelming performance, surpassing traditional teams like Ferrari and Mercedes, which seems unlikely under the current circumstance. Thus, there is growing expectation that Adrian Newey and Honda will be able to convince Lawrence Stroll to make the difficult decision to replace Lance with a more experienced and victorious driver like Max Verstappen. The opportunity to have two multiple world champions working together in the same team is rare. And if Aston Martin manages to achieve that, they will have a very promising future. One of the strong supporters of this idea is former Colombian driver Juan Pablo Montoya, who recently stated he believes Aston Martin will make an irresistible offer to Max. Montoya suggests that Verstappen might give Red Bull one last chance to fix their issues, trusting Adrian Newey to reorganize the team. However, even with gradual improvements, Montoya does not believe Aston Martin will win races consistently right away. If Red Bull faces difficulties at the beginning of the new era, Montoya sees it as highly likely that Max will look for another team, possibly signing a new contract within the first few races of 2026. In Montoya's view, Aston Martin would be the logical choice, as they will have Newey and Honda, two key elements behind Max's greatest triumph. Mercedes also appears as an interesting option, but the structure being built at Silverstone combined with the stability offered by the new project makes Aston Martin a very attractive destination. Another point that should not be forgotten is Lawrence Stroll's recent business move, where he sold a significant share of Aston Martin to investors, strengthening his internal position within the team. This move shows that the Canadian billionaire has no intention of abandoning the project anytime soon. On the contrary, he seems more determined than ever to see his team reach the top. However, there remains the uncertainty whether he will realize that Lance, despite occasional flashes of brilliance, may not be the right piece to achieve that goal. Even with the points scored in the early rounds of 2025, Lance's inconsistent performance in previous seasons weighs heavily against him, which should motivate Honda and Newey to keep pushing for Verstappen. However, there is a problem that cannot be ignored. Would Max or Yuki Tsunoda accept racing alongside Lance Stroll? The nepotism factor within the team could drive away great talents, preventing Aston Martin from reaching their full potential. It will be very interesting to see how much power Honda can exercise to change this situation. According to Koji Watanabe, there is still a long way to go regarding the development of engines for 2026. In recent statements, Watanabe made a point of tempering Aston Martin fans' enthusiasm, explaining that the new power unit, which delivers 355 kilowatts, is extremely compact and requires the use of a very lightweight battery, making the entire development process extremely challenging. Watanabe also emphasized that building a small engine with high power output is no easy task, but assured that Honda's team is working with maximum dedication to overcome these obstacles. Even so, the Japanese executive warned that immediate success is not guaranteed, and asked for patience so that the project can mature naturally over the coming years. Taking all this into consideration, the question remains, will Honda truly be able to attract Max Verstappen or Yuki Tsunoda to Aston Martin if the opportunity arises? And more importantly, will the four-time world champion be willing to leave behind the Austrian team that made him a superstar and seek new challenges in his career?